Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right into one of the most dynamic, action-packed astrological placements you're ever going to come across, Mars in the 11th house. Now, if you're tuned in, you already know Mars is the planet of sheer, unadulterated drive. But when it lands in the 11th house, that's where individual effort collides with shared ambition to create massive, real-world change. We're talking about a placement that literally cannot stand alone. It is constantly looking outward, toward groups, toward causes, toward shared goals. Sure, doing your own thing feels great, but for this placement, collective action is where the real magic happens. It's built on this profound belief that real change only actually happens when a whole bunch of hearts are moving in the exact same direction.
There's a saying that dreams alone never change reality, and wow, does that hit the nail on the head for this placement. Watching quietly from the sidelines, totally unnatural. In fact, passive participation is pretty much off the table, because to them, if you have a meaningful vision, it deserves practical, immediate effort. You know that one friend who instantly starts a petition or organizes a rally the second some local injustice pops up? Yeah, that's exactly this energy. If you have this placement or you know someone who does, you know how fast conversations turn into action. Ideas are practically begging to be executed, and plans demand serious momentum. Because at the end of the day, just dreaming about a better world isn't going to cut it. So before we really let that fiery Martian energy loose, let's set the stage. What is the 11th house? Think of it as the space that governs our friendships, our communities, networks, and social movements. It is the ultimate realm of collective dreams and future goals. It's this fascinating area of life where problems suddenly shift from being just my problem to our responsibility. It's where we wake up and realize, hey, injustice affects all of us, not just one person in a vacuum, and finding a real solution, that requires some deep, rolling up your sleeves kind of cooperation.
Right, so what happens when Mars actually enters this communal space? Well, it brings a very heavy suitcase packed with courage, determination, and this intense sense of urgency. Stagnation? Not an option. Honestly, sitting still becomes almost physically impossible. Mars injects this massive wave of momentum into collective spaces. Suddenly, those boring, everyday meetings become hyperproductive. Casual water cooler chats turn into concrete action plans. And all that lingering frustration people have been sitting on, it transforms into active, organized effort. Hope isn't just this warm, fuzzy feeling anymore. It becomes a literal, physical movement.
With all that momentum, it's really no surprise that folks with this placement naturally gravitate toward leadership roles. We're talking organizers, activists, entrepreneurs, campaign managers, community builders, you name it. And they step into these roles so seamlessly. Why? Often it's because friends are actively seeking their direction, teams expect them to make the tough calls, and groups rely on their initiative to get things off the ground. And here is the best part. They almost never wait around for permission to start. Responsibility just kind of finds them, and action kicks off immediately, sometimes way before they even have all the details ironed out.
So, what actually triggers all this action? What gets them fired up? It's the big stuff: social reform, environmental protection, political movements, community welfare, human rights, workplace fairness. Any meaningful mission is going to draw them in like a magnet. Their inner fire just burns so much brighter when they're tackling injustices that affect the collective. It really goes to show that for them, finding purpose is way more important than personal comfort, and it's contagious. One determined voice inspires the next, and before you know it, courage is quietly spreading across entire communities. People follow them because their commitment is 100% genuine. It is never just for show.
Section 1. The Shadow of Mars, when fire burns too hot.
Now, as with literally all placements in astrology, there is a flip side. Are you building movements, or are you feeling conflict? When that Martian fire burns a little too hot, that immense urgency can create some serious friction and actually weaken cooperation inside these incredibly worthy causes. Passion can sour into impatience really fast, and leadership can morph into control. That drive for change can suddenly feel like crushing pressure for everyone on the team. So you really have to ask yourself that tough question. Because when every minor disagreement feels personal and every slight delay feels completely unacceptable, conflict just quietly festers. Both of these paths, building and battling, seem powerful, right? They both create action, they both challenge the status quo. But their foundations are totally different. One unites people, and the other just tears them apart.
It really all boils down to whether we're dealing with a balanced Mars or a troubled Mars. A balanced Mars creates disciplined action. It brings fearless leadership, healthy competition, and incredibly constructive courage. You end up inspiring people without dominating them. You act firmly without unnecessary aggression. But on the flip side, a troubled Mars, that brings impulsivity. You start seeing the same heated arguments repeat over and over, group conflicts spike, and even friendships become weirdly competitive. Anger starts to overshadow the whole initial purpose of the movement, and suddenly, just winning the argument becomes more important than actual justice. The cause itself might survive, sure, but the relationships of the people doing the work, those are absolutely going to take a hit.
Section 2. The psychological root. Action as emotional medicine.
To truly grasp why this happens, we've got to look at what's going on beneath the surface. For people with this placement, purpose becomes medicine against hopelessness. Deep down, there's a profound fear of helplessness, a feeling that doing nothing is absolutely unbearable. Just sitting around waiting, it creates an intense, almost physical frustration for them. Doing something, literally anything at all, feels emotionally vital. Even taking totally imperfect action feels infinitely better than sitting in comfortable silence. When they look out at a fractured world, having a purpose is literally their medicine. They take action because in their minds, doing nothing means letting the hopelessness win.
Section 3. The ultimate lesson. Compassion over confrontation.
So how do we make sure these powerful collective dreams actually survive the heat of their own creation? Well, there's a vital distinction we need to make. Anger begins movements, but wisdom sustains them. Anger is an unbelievable spark. It's what gets people out of their comfortable chairs and marching in the streets. But anger alone cannot sustain a movement for the long haul. That requires wisdom. Without it, that fiery Martian energy is just going to burn out. Mars hates stagnation, right? It wants rapid, immediate progress. But lasting, generational transformation almost never happens overnight. If we want these shared dreams to survive, we have to rely on cooperation, not domination. And there are 3 essential ingredients for enduring revolutions. First, any worthy cause needs compassion, not just courage. You have to care about the people you're fighting for and fighting alongside. Second, it requires deep, intentional listening, not just authoritative leadership. A true leader actively welcomes different, even dissenting voices. And third, it needs healing, not just endless confrontation. Every movement requires trust. Every community needs open dialogue. And every shared dream requires emotional resilience, not just pure, stubborn determination. Mars in the 11th never asks you to go it alone. It absolutely demands collective effort.
I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. We so often picture changemakers as these loud, solitary heroes standing on a mountaintop. But real influence, it rarely comes from the loudest voices in the room. It grows quietly, it grows through trusted relationships, shared responsibility, and consistent, everyday action. The strongest movements endure because ordinary people choose courage together. So when you look at the causes you deeply care about today, ask yourself, are you just making noise, or are you actually building the trust required to make your shared dream a lasting reality?